Patrick Mahomes will never, ever catch the GOAT, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
Here's what it's about. No matter what you do in your career, you lost to the man considered the GOAT who beat you at age 43.
Where there's people saying, he's already the greatest of all time, better than Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't able to blah, 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 blah.
The NFL has now found itself its own version of the timeless, unresolvable Jordan versus LeBron argument. Who reigns supreme, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady? Now go ahead and feel free to formulate your own stance, but remain open to revisions as necessary. You probably already lean towards one side or the other, and that's totally fine. But it's crucial to realize that this debate is just beginning. There's a lot more to come. In this video, we'll break down all the major things you need to know so it can help you decide a little better. Patrick Mahomes has not only made it clear that he's one of the best quarterbacks around, possibly even one of the greatest ever, by winning his 3rd Super Bowl. He's also started a never-ending debate in places like sports bars and on sports talk shows that will keep going on forever. But let's start from the beginning. Mahomes and Brady both started their careers on the bench. Mahomes, despite being drafted in the 1st round, sat behind Alex Smith for most of his first season. Brady, infamously drafted in the 6th round at number 199 overall, sat behind Drew Bledsoe. Each ended up playing in one game in their rookie season. Brady came in after Bledsoe was injured and attempted just 3 passes. He connected on one for 6 yards. Mahomes started and played a full game, completing 22 of 35 passing attempts for 284 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. In Brady's 2nd season, his first as a full-time starter, Brady led the New England Patriots to a Super Bowl championship and was named to the Pro Bowl after throwing for 2,842 yards and 18 touchdowns against 12 interceptions. To put that into perspective, Mahomes threw for 18 touchdowns in his first 6 games as a starter, but didn't win the ring like Brady did. Now, in Mahomes' 2nd season and his first as a full-time starter, he led his team to the AFC Championship game against Brady, where he lost to Brady, but he was named an All-Pro and Pro Bowler after throwing for 5,097 yards and 50 touchdowns against just 12 interceptions. The same amount of interceptions as Brady, but he threw 32 more touchdowns than Brady. That is crazy. There's been no significant drop-off for Mahomes ever since. As a full-time starter, he has never passed for less than 4,000 yards in a season. He's never thrown fewer than 26 touchdowns. Brady, on the other hand, didn't get to 4,000 yards until his 6th season, and didn't get to 30-plus touchdowns until he got Randy Moss in 2007 and went crazy for 50 touchdowns that year. One could argue that Brady was just a game manager for his first 6 seasons, even though he won 3 Super Bowls in his first 4 years as a starter. This is where the question of team versus individual comes into play. And how do you define success for a quarterback? By what a team accomplishes or what an individual does? Everybody's got their own definition. That's why this debate is so tricky. But to maybe help you with your opinion, let's take a look at some facts about both quarterbacks in their first 7 years. And I'm only doing 7 because Mahomes has only been in the league for 7 years. Brady saw a lot of team success while paired with a top 5 defense early on. He was viewed by many in the media as a game manager, a fitting title for current debates. This isn't a knock on Brady. It's merely a different way of building a team, but there's no way around that classification. It took until Brady's 6th season for him to surpass 4,000 yards passing. On the other side, Mahomes hasn't thrown for less than 4,000 yards since becoming the full-time starter in Kansas City. In 2022, he led the league in passing yards with 5,250, along with 41 touchdowns. It was his 2nd All-Pro nod, and his 2nd NFL MVP season. Mahomes then capped it all off by winning his 2nd Super Bowl. In 2023, he had a down year, and yet still threw for 4,183 yards and 27 touchdowns with a rookie as his wide receiver. But we also have to consider the different eras both quarterbacks played in during the first part of their careers as well. The early 2000s NFL wasn't as high-flying as it is today. There was still a huge emphasis on the run game, and 4,000-yard seasons weren't the benchmark for franchise quarterback play. It's not as quantifiable a determinant, but it matters for context between the two performances. I'd venture to say that and Brady's first few seasons, while not close to Mahomes' numbers, were still every bit as impactful and highly touted around the league at the time. But in their first 7 years, Mahomes pretty much got Brady in every category you can think of. More passing yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions, a better completion percentage, yards per attempt, yards per game, ratings, rush yards, rush TDs, and I can go on and on. But does this make someone the GOAT? Most people will say no, because if Mahomes retired today, I believe a majority of people will still have Brady as the GOAT because longevity matters. Something just has to be said about being that good for that long. There's no way around it. So let's take a look at some overall stats and what Mahomes will need to do to surpass Tom Brady in those categories. Tom Brady has thrown for 89,214 yards over his career, and Mahomes is currently at 28,424 yards. Mahomes will need to throw 60,791 yards to surpass Brady as the all-time leader in passing yards. So let's say Mahomes plays for another 13 years in the NFL to make it a 20-year career. He will need to average 4,676 yards per year, which is 275 yards per game, to take over as king. Now, this milestone is very achievable, as Mahomes can easily play 13 more years if he wanted to, especially nowadays that you can't even touch the quarterback. Brady also led the field in touchdowns thrown with 649 passing TDs. Mahomes is currently at 219. Let's stick to our 13 more years for Mahomes' hypothetical. He'd need to average 33 passing touchdowns per season to surpass Brady. This is very doable, as I think he'll have at least a couple of years where he'll throw for 40+ touchdowns. Tom Brady also has 251 QB wins to 74 for Mahomes. Mahomes will need to average about 14 wins per season to surpass Brady's 251 wins. For some people, even if Mahomes gets close to those numbers, they will still say he isn't the GOAT unless he gets to 7 rings or more. Now, it's pretty easy to see Mahomes catching up to Brady when it comes to numbers, but can he get 7 rings? His best player on offense, Travis Kelce, is now 34 years old, so it's fair to say he's probably got 2 more good years left in him. Mahomes' coach, Andy Reid, probably got a few more years left as well. He's now 66 years of age. See, Tom Brady's situation was perfect. He was paired with one of the greatest coaches ever at the right time. Bill was in his late 40s, and they were able to spend 20 years together and dominate the league. Yes, Tom Brady was very good, but we can't ignore that the coach provided him with a top 5 defense year in and year out. The defense was so good that the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl 13-3. That is absolutely crazy to think about how the defense stopped a high-power offense and held them to just 3 points. They were also so good that even when you thought they were definitely losing, Coach had that defensive play ready, and Malcolm Butler made one of the best plays in sports history. Now, when it comes to Mahomes, yes, he does have a good coach, but I don't see Andy Reid coaching for another 10 years. He is 66 now, and has been coaching for a long time and not in the best shape physically. So Mahomes will be losing the brain behind the offense pretty soon. The question then turns into, who will be the next coach? And can they coexist and have similar types of success? That is yet to be seen. But Tom Brady was able to pivot and play well under a different coach, so maybe Mahomes will do the same. Now, my own personal opinion is that this debate will be solved once Mahomes retires, and most people will be on one side or the other, unlike the LeBron and Jordan debate, and here's why. Jordan retired just a short while before James started playing in 2003. This meant that every NBA fan had fresh memories of Jordan and knew his opponents well enough to compare him to James. Until the mid-2010s, Brady's main rival in history was Joe Montana, who won 4 Super Bowls. However, Montana won his last Super Bowl before Brady was even out of middle school. Bill Russell won 11 NBA championships, but many of those were before Jordan was even born. As time passes, older legends become less relevant in the conversation. Mahomes and Brady's rivalry came together perfectly in Super Bowl 55, where Brady's Buccaneers defeated Mahomes' Chiefs. Mahomes had just won a Super Bowl and was seen as the NFL's next big star, but Brady showed him who was still on top. Brady also had the perfect career. He started well and ended well. But it's a bit harder to remember now. The Patriots went 10 years almost to the day between winning rings, from their 3rd over the Eagles in 2005 to their 4th over the Seahawks in 2015. Brady stacked both the front and back of his career with rings, but there were some fallow years in the middle. Mahomes hasn't experienced any hard times yet. Even in his worst seasons as a starter, he made it to overtime in the AFC Championship. But tough times could be coming. Coach Andy Reid might retire, unexpected breakups between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, or rising stars like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen could become dominant. The future isn't set in stone, no matter how promising it seems right now. Back to comparing this to the Jordan and LeBron debate, the debate between them often revolves around their championship records. Jordan won 6 titles and never lost in the finals. LeBron has 4 championships, but has been to the finals 10 times, including 8 consecutive appearances from 2011 to 2018. Which streak is more impressive? It depends on whether you prioritize winning or consistency over time. Mahomes' initial 6 years as a starter, with 6 conference championship games, 4 Super Bowl appearances, and 3 wins, surpasses any 6-year stretch of Brady's career, much like Jordan's 6 titles in 6 full years trumps any comparable stretch for LeBron. However, LeBron's sustained excellence and extended time at the pinnacle overshadowed Jordan, just as Brady's remarkable 23-year career naturally outweighs Mahomes' achievements, at least for now. What does Mahomes need to do to pass Brady? That all depends on who's doing the judging, but he'll need a few more rings and a few more Super Bowl appearances at the very least. But you let me know, who do you got?